And Brent, I'm actually going to start with you because in the shareholder letter that Alex Karp puts out every quarter, he basically called this a new phase as AI adoption accelerates and with it sales growth, which is what we're seeing at Palantir. And I spoke to Karp and he said it to me like this. He said, quote, say you're a PE company, you acquire a large insurance company and you wanted to change the cost of revenue, meaning how can you have fewer people doing the same amount of underwriting and have the same number of customers? That was a multi-year project, like 3 to 5. Now it's a one-quarter cost that's completely different. And if you do it and the company down the street doesn't, you're going to have very different margins and very different revenue. And then he goes on from there.
This video offers an in-depth look at Palantir's unique position in the AI revolution and why its contrarian approach could be the key to its future growth. If you want insights into the next big player in tech, this is a must-watch.
But we've talked about it for a while now that 2025 could be the year where you see this application layer actually take effect and you see corporate America begin to realize the benefits of the investments they've made on AI. Palantir seems to be very far ahead based on the earnings we just got. Does this change your thesis?
Look, they've had great fundamentals. I think this is a question of valuation. Again, you'd have to grow 5 years in a row at 50% and the stock would still trade at 15 times revenue. So it's not that we're arguing the fundamentals. Kudos to them and great call by Dan on the stock. Our view is more about liking other names. And remember, 50% of this base is retail and insiders. There's no other software company like this. It's the lowest asked about question of any institutional investor because barely any institutional investors own it. And so I go back to, we've all seen what happened to Snowflake at 50 times revenue. We've all seen what happened to Datadog and others. And maybe Palantir is different. Kudos to them, and I agree with you. It's getting to the application layer, and they're in a great spot. So I'm not sitting here attacking the fundamentals. Fundamentals are great. Ours is largely focused on the stock and looking at what's happened to investors in the last 20 years when you chase things at 50 times revenue. It doesn't end well, and none of them have. So I think part of it's we're just scarred from that, and maybe we're totally wrong on that. And so I acknowledge, we're wrong, but I also acknowledge, like, you got to look at the history and look at the fundamental analysis. So that's kind of what we're sticking to right now.
While caution is important in any investment, it's hard to ignore Palantir's unique role in the AI revolution. Unlike other tech companies, its focus on transforming industries through data-driven solutions could be a game changer. Their fundamentals and positioning in the market suggest that they may continue to outperform even with the higher valuation.
Dan, I want to get your response to that because valuation has been raised by a number of folks here. One of the other things that came up in my conversation with Karp is the fact that, this is how he put it, he said we don't have the right jokes, the right suits, the right steak dinners. We're never exactly the right people at the right time, unfortunately, and that's probably the biggest limit to our growth. Wrong people, wrong time, but right products. Yep. Sort of getting at this idea that they tend to be contrarian and that they don't have a marketing team, and yet they're growing. You've called it the Messi of AI, but the Messi of AI does look expensive based on some valuation metrics. Is it right for a pullback here, or does it keep going?
Look, I think this was a historical quarter. And ultimately, look, the bears, they were bearish at $10, hated 40, and despised it at 100, right? And I think they can see AI in the spreadsheets. When we do the checks that we've done for Palantir, I think it's the next Oracle, it's the next Salesforce. I think this is a company, when it comes to AI revolution, this is really front and center is what's going to be one of the huge beneficiaries there.
Do they need to pull the marketing lever here? Do they need to build out that team, or it's not necessary?
I think the scary thing is, with no direct sales force and basically more inbound, this is what they've done. In terms of what these types of numbers, you start to look out the next 3, 4, 5 years. I think this is ultimately, this could be a $1 trillion market cap when we look out for the next 2, 3, 4 years. And as Brett's talked about, I mean, institutional has obviously been very negative on it. But as we've talked, I think many have missed the biggest historical growth names the last 20 years because they focus on value.
Palantir's ability to thrive without a flashy marketing team is a testament to the strength and demand of their products. their focus on delivering transformative AI solutions may be far more important than the traditional sales tactics that others rely on. This contrarian strategy, especially in the face of AI's growing influence, positions them as a leader in the space. Palantir just reported staggering growth, 64% in U.S. commercial revenue and 45% in government revenue. In a tech landscape where giants stumble, Palantir's sprinting ahead. They're projecting $3.75 billion revenue for 2025, $230 million above analyst expectations. Can they deliver on these lofty goals? We're digging into the implications for the AI industry and what it means for Palantir's future. Palantir's recent earnings report is sending shockwaves through Wall Street, and for good reason. We're talking about a company that just posted 64% growth in U.S. commercial revenue and a 45% increase in government revenue. In a tech landscape where giants are stumbling, Palantir's sprinting ahead. For years, they were this enigmatic player, lurking in the shadows of Silicon Valley, working with spy agencies and governments. Now they're stepping into the spotlight, and it's like they've flipped on a supernova. Dan Ives from Wedbush throwing a wrench in the bearish narrative. He's calling Palantir the Messi of AI. In the tech world, that's like saying they're not just playing the game, they're redefining it. Ives is making a bold claim. Palantir could be the next Oracle or Salesforce. We're talking about the potential for a $1 trillion valuation here. Palantir's AI-powered software is being adopted faster than anyone expected. They're not just growing, they're accelerating. And it's happening across sectors. The company's projecting $3.75 billion in revenue for 2025, which is $230 million above what analysts were expecting. But the million-dollar question remains, can they keep this up? Palantir's betting big on their AI capabilities, positioning themselves as the go-to platform for large language models and data analysis. Palantir's supporters see a company that's finally hitting its stride, leveraging years of government work into commercial success. Are we witnessing the birth of the next tech giant? Palantir is redefining the AI landscape, and it's time we paid attention. Alex Karp, their CEO, isn't just making bold claims, he's backing them up with results that are turning heads across industries. Imagine compressing a multi-year project into a single quarter. That's the kind of efficiency Palantir's bringing to the table, and it's got CEOs sitting up and taking notice. While most companies are still figuring out how to use AI, Palantir's been in this game for 2 decades. They're not just slapping an AI label on their products, they're fundamentally changing how businesses operate. And here's where it gets interesting. Palantir's creating an AI divide in the business world. Picture 2 companies in the same industry, one using Palantir's AI, the other stuck with traditional methods. The Palantir-powered company is operating in a different league, making decisions faster, optimizing operations, and potentially dominating the market. They're not about flashy demos or catchy slogans. They're delivering practical solutions that yield real-world results. In sectors like defense and healthcare, where data integration and analysis are critical, Palantir's impact could be game-changing. But here's the million-dollar question. If Palantir succeeds, how will it reshape not just businesses, but entire industries and economies? We're talking about a potential shift in the balance of power across sectors. Companies that adopt Palantir's tech could see fundamentally different margins and revenue streams. Those that don't might find themselves left in the dust. Palantir's been quietly preparing for this AI revolution while everyone else was chasing quick wins. They're not just riding the AI wave, they've been building the surfboard for 2 decades. And now, as the tsunami hits, they're perfectly positioned to lead the charge. Alex Karp, their CEO, says they're at the center of the AI revolution, with momentum unlike anything that has come before. This transformation will unfold over decades. Keep an eye on their AI-driven growth and new partnerships. These could signal major shifts in how businesses operate.